Hello everyone, good evening. My name is Sandra Essenam and I'm here for business. The National Food and Buffer Stock Company has disbursed about 78 million Ghana cedis in payment for food supplies to schools under the free senior high school policy. Currently, there are about 500 licensed suppliers under the program.
Overall, there are about 500 suppliers licensed by the National Food and Buffer Stock Company to supply various food items to senior high schools under the free SHS policy. Some suppliers who had gone to the National Food and Buffer Stock Company for their checks say payments have been prompt so far.
I expected around 17,600. I did supply rice, sugar, oil, basically food stuff to a school in the Amasia district. I've been paid as I was promised.
We give rice, millet, maize, beans, gari, soybeans, tin tomatoes, margarine, meal, sardine, and then mackerel. I'm expecting about almost 200,000 Ghana cedis today. And I'm told it's ready.
You said you're expecting 2.5 million Ghana cedis.
Yes, please.
This 2.5 million Ghana cedis is for what kind of goods did you supply?
Actually, I supply bulky stocks in the sense that I've supplied the whole 3 northern regions maize, including rice, all the boarding houses in the 3 northern region.
Chief Executive Officer of the National Food and Buffer Stock Company, Abdul Hanan Wahab, said about 78 million Ghana cedis have so far been issued in payments.
So far, we have received money for September to date for the supplies made by Buffer Stock through our licensed suppliers. That is for the green track. The gold track is ongoing. So far, we have received about a little over 91 million Ghana cedis, which we are currently paying them.
Okay. And out of this 91 million, how much have you actually disbursed?
Oh, we have currently disbursed about 78 million. Because we started making the payment 4 days ago.
Sheila Tamaklu for Joy Business.
Bank of Ghana has endorsed ADB's decision to convert a debt of 150 million cedis to equity. Shareholders of the bank at an extraordinary general meeting in Accra gave their blessing to the deal after a short presentation from the board chairman. This is part of measures by the bank to meet the deadline for the new minimal capital requirement.
The stated capital of ADB is less than 400 million cedis, newly proposed capital requirement by the Bank of Ghana. This means the bank requires an additional capital in order to stay in business after the December 31 deadline, which the Bank of Ghana will revoke licenses of all banks who were unable to raise the money. ADB has therefore decided to convert its debt into an equity share for the bank to be able to meet the requirement. Speaking at the extraordinary general meeting, board chair of the ADB said the Bank of Ghana has no objection to the move after shareholders' approval.
That directors be authorized, to convert a subordinated debt of 150 million owed Bank of Ghana by ADB into equity as part of the capital raising process.
MD of the bank, Kofi Mensah, has been explaining how this will impact on the bank's operations.
We are just about 11 days to that, and all the banks which are capable have either met or trying to meet the deadline, and ADB is no exception. Being one of the oldest banks and a very influential bank, we are also making sure, and having sought the approval of shareholders, and today, 20th December 2018, having agreed and approved that, I think we are ready to move and grow in leaps in 2019.
This will also mean that the current ownership structure of the bank will change after all the necessary documentations are over.
You're still watching Business News with me, Sandra Essenam. Upon time now to take a look at other stories making headlines elsewhere in the world of business.
IMF's managing director says if assurances by the president and his economic management team are upheld, Ghana can proceed on the path of development successfully without an extended credit facility from the fund. Christine Lagarde said the country has the potential to run an effective economy devoid of an IMF program. There is a debate ongoing by government officials regarding whether government should abolish duties paid on imported goods into the country, President Akufo-Addo has revealed. He explained that some officials want Ghana to emulate the steps taken by Hong Kong, Dubai and Singapore, where there are no duties on goods, whereas others want the status quo to remain. Soon, he said, the results of that debate will be known to all Ghanaians. AngloGold Ashanti Limited is considering listing its shares in either London or Toronto in a move that could see the company hive off its remaining South African operations, according to people familiar with the situation. While no final decision has been made, the world's third largest gold producer has been discussing the plan internally and with advisors, said the people who asked not to be identified as the talks are private.
To other stories now, cocoa farmers in the country will from 2019 be adopting new farming methods to improve yields. This according to the CEO of Cocoa Board, Joseph Boahen Edu, who is worried that Ghana's performance on the world stage could get worse if immediate actions are not taken.
CEO of Cocoa Board, Joseph Boahen Edu, says cocoa farmers will be adopting new farming methods to increase productivity and growth yields in the cocoa sector. Interacting with some award-winning cocoa farmers, Joseph Boahen Edu reveals more funding will also be injected to the cocoa sector to increase yields from the current 77,000 metric tons to about 900,000 metric tons.
We want to produce by using either the same area of land or, if possible, even reducing the size of land that the farmers have. That is, to go vertical, instead of going lateral production. We want to go vertical. Vertical in the sense that we want to inject into our farming system improved methods of farming, best agronomic practices, and then the most modern technology.
Ghana produced an unprecedented 1 million tons of cocoa during the 2010 and 2011 crop season, a development which was largely attributed to good weather and improved farming techniques. Production, however, declined to almost 850,000 tons last season. Joseph Boahen Edu is worried Ghana could risk losing its place on the world stage if this trend continues.
Ivory Coast, once upon a time, was 1.5 million. In 2016-17, Ivory Coast produced 1.8. 2018, they've gone 2 million. And now they are aiming at about 2.2 million. Ivory Coast continues to go up. Nigeria is also going up. Ecuador, every country is increasing production. So Ghana, we cannot say that we cannot increase. We are not going to increase production, all because the world market price is falling. We are all flooding the market. That is a fact. We are flooding the market. It's not only Ghana, but all the producing countries are increasing production. And we cannot stay behind.
In the meantime, Cocoa Board has finalized a $1.3 billion receivables-backed trade finance facility for the purchase of cocoa in Ghana in the 2018 and 2019 crop season.
And in international news tonight, the Bank of England has cast UK's growth forecast. We have the details next.
The Justice Department charged 2 Chinese nationals Thursday in a global hacking scheme to steal business secrets as part of a campaign allegedly directed by the Chinese government. Deputy Attorney General Rod Rosenstein said the hackers, part of a group known as Advanced Persistent Threat 10 or APT-10, stole information from more than 45 companies in the US in coordination with China's State Security Service. The Bank of England has cut its UK growth forecast and warned the lack of Brexit clarity is hitting the economy. The bank said uncertainty over the UK's departure from the EU had intensified considerably over the past month. Against the backdrop of weaker global growth, the Monetary Policy Committee voted unanimously to keep interest rates at 0.75%. South Africa's Competition Commission on Thursday recommended Shoprite's retail unit, which houses the country's biggest supermarket chain, be fined 10% of its turnover for anti-competitive behavior. Shoprite shares fell more than 4% after the commission referred it to the country's competition tribunal, which will ultimately decide if the commission's charges and proposed fine should stand.
And before I go, the business environment is so saturated and experts have always advised entrepreneurs to have a niche. But how do you stay on top and above competition, especially for startup businesses? Here are some tips for you. All right, so be smart, stay on top, and stay in business. That's all for business with me, Sandra Isanamafenu. For more news, do log on to myjoyland.com/business for more business updates. Thanks so much for watching and have a great evening.